This is the Learning the Avidyne Atlas Advanced series webinar. This is a scenario-based training and is designed to step you through the process of operating the Atlas FMS using real-world practical situations. We encourage you to always defer to the pilot's guide that matches your operating system. We have a whole series of lessons on the Atlas. We've previously done an Avidyne Atlas Basics webinar, which covers the first 6 lessons. In this webinar, we will cover Atlas Advanced, which is the next 6 lessons you see here. Let's get started. First up, Lesson 7 on arrivals and departures. Okay, let's assume we're sitting on the ground in St. Paul Downtown Airport. We get clearance, Learjet, November 1234. You are cleared from St. Paul Downtown Airport to Chicago Midway Airport via the Zombro 7 departure, Nodine, ODI transition, direct Davenport, Motif 6 arrival, climb and maintain 5,000, squawk 4321, expect runway 27 for departure. So you can see here's our clearance along the bottom, and we briefed the departure, the Zombro 7, and we're on runway 27, so here's the particulars for that. And here's the diagram that shows the Zombro 7. Here's the Motif 6 arrival into Midway off of the Davenport VOR. Here's our transition. Here's Davenport, Bradford, Motif, and then Joliet, and then Midway. So now we want to load this entire flight plan. So let's step through the process here. Okay, we bring up the Atlas. We are sitting on the ground at St. Paul downtown. Highlight the waypoint. Use our FMS knob, move it over to the departure, and select the Zombro 7 by scrolling down. Push enter, select ODI as our transition, and then it'll ask for the runway, and you select runway 27. And there's your entire Zombro 7 departure. So now let's bring the cursor down after ODI. Push in on the FMS knob. We want to enter a waypoint. Geofill nominates the nearest airport, but we want to put in Davenport CVA. So we type that in, CV. Geofill completes the entry. We push enter or hit the FMS button to enter. Motif 6 into Midway, we need to enter Midway first as the airport, and then we can bring up the list of arrivals. Now we can scroll up to the arrival window, push in on the FMS button and get a menu, pull down the Motif 6 with the Davenport transition. Now if we reach up and hit the View Line Select key, switch from expanded to compact, we can quickly review our flight plan. We're at the St. Paul Downtown Airport, Zombro 7 departure, transition ODI, direct Davenport, Midway on the Motif 6 arrival. Press the Line Select key to activate the flight plan. Touch the Map side tab to view the flight plan with the map at the same time, or touch the Map Page button to view a full screen map. Switching to the TAWS tab shows the 3D synthetic vision view of our departure. So that covers arrivals and departures. In this lesson, we will demonstrate programming the Atlas for intercepting a radial on a published departure and intercepting a random radial using OBS mode. When we left off in the previous lesson, we were departing St. Paul Downtown Airport. The first part of the Zombro 7 departure from runway 27 says to continue on a heading of 268 degrees and expect radar vectors. We get a call from ATC, Learjet, November 1234, turn left heading 185 degrees, intercept the MSP 138 degree radial, continue the Zombro 7 departure. The 138 degree radial off of MSP takes us to Jedit, so we will highlight Jedit with the cursor and select Activate Leg. As we continue our flight, we get a call from ATC, Learjet November 1234. On your present heading, intercept the Avidyne 305-degree radial, then continue as filed. Since we are being asked to fly to Avidyne on the 305-degree radial, that means we will want to program the reciprocal course of 125 degrees using the OBS mode. So we move the cursor to Avidyne, ODI, and activate that leg. Then push the CDI button on the Atlas FMS to switch to OBS mode. For this simulation, we will use the CDI knob to dial in the OBS course. In a typical Atlas installation, you would change the OBS setting by rotating the course pointer on your PFD or HSI. Now the FMS is in OBS mode, flying the inbound 125-degree course to Avidyne, as directed. Upon reaching Avidyne, the Atlas FMS auto-transitions back to en route GPS mode and onto the next waypoint, Davenport, CVA. So that covers intercepting a radial on a published approach and intercepting a random radial using the OBS mode. Up next, let's talk about offset course and rubber band mode. When we left off from the previous lesson, we were flying from Avidyne, ODI, to Davenport, CVA, and we want to do a course offset. So we call center, Learjet November 1234, request a temporary deviation 5 miles right of course to avoid some weather. In order to program the Atlas for this course offset, simply use line select key 3 labeled offset route, then rotate the FMS knob to the desired offset distance, left or right. In this case, 5 nautical miles to the right. Then press LSK3 again to confirm. You will notice a parallel dashed course line 5 nautical miles to the right of the magenta course. This is your offset. It's important to note that lateral offsets are not available in OBS mode, and lateral offsets are also not available on published procedure legs. Press LSK2 to delete the offset and return to the normal course. Another way to program a course deviation using the Atlas FMS is with the rubberbanding feature. On this same leg from Avidyne to Davenport, let's deviate to the right by simply holding our finger on the magenta course line for a second or so. It will turn cyan and you can drag the course left or right as desired. Whenever you lift your finger, a rubber band waypoint will be created and automatically added to the flight plan. You simply approve it. If you drag to a nearby nav aid, you will be given the option to snap to the nav aid or to create a user-defined rubber band waypoint right where you lifted your finger. To delete the rubber band waypoint, simply move the cursor over the waypoint and hit the clear key, and the flight plan will return to its previous route. So that covers offset course and rubber band mode for the Atlas. This is saving and reusing flight plans. In the previous lessons, you learned how to build flight plans. Let's look at how we can store a flight plan for later use, invert a flight plan, retrieve a flight plan, and delete flight plans. In this example, we are planning a trip from Dallas Love to Flagstaff, and we want to program our flight plan and return flight plan into the Atlas FMS. The Atlas knows our origin airport since we are on the ground at Dallas Love, so we bring up the FMS menu and enter the waypoint CNX and hit enter. Then we bring up the FMS menu again, either by pushing the lower right FMS knob or by touching on the black area of the touchscreen. We select waypoint and enter the next waypoint, INW, and enter. Repeat this process for FLG. When you bring up the FMS menu again and select waypoint, the geofill will automatically nominate the nearest airport, in this case KFLG, which is our destination. So we only have to hit enter. We can now scroll through and review our flight plan for accuracy. To save this flight plan for future recall, let's switch to the FMS Route tab From here, we want to copy our current route by hitting the Copy Line Select key, LSK1. Our flight plan, KDAL to KFLG, is automatically named by default. This is where you can edit the name of the flight plan if you choose. Since this works as is, we'll go ahead and go back to the route list using LSK3, and we can see that KDAL to KFLG is now in our list of stored routes. Now we want to program the flight plan for the return trip. By hitting the Invert Line Select key, LSK2, we can make a copy of the selected flight plan with the waypoints in reverse order. Then we can add and delete any waypoints that are different. In this example, we will simply delete CNX and FLG and then add in the Maverick TTT VOR into the flight plan. Now you can see both flight plans are in the stored routes. Let's activate the first one by highlighting it with the cursor and then using LSK3 to activate the route. Then approve by using the touchscreen or Enter key. To delete a stored route, simply move the cursor over the desired flight plan and hit the Clear key and confirm using the touchscreen or Enter key. So that was saving and reusing flight plans. This is entering and flying holding patterns. Atlas makes entering, editing, and executing holds simple and easy. In this lesson, we will cover entering of random holds and published holds, modifying a holding pattern, and exiting a hold. We are currently flying the following flight plan from Quad City Moline Airport to Chicago Midway Airport via the J. Paul intersection, Victor 156 to Bradford, Motif 6 arrival as shown here. As you can see, I'm loading up this flight plan to get this demo set up. Please refer to prior lessons for more details on how to enter flight plans. It's fully covered there. As we are flying along, we get a call from ATC. Clearjet November 1234, hold south of the Wakti intersection on the 180-degree radial, left-hand turns, expect further clearance at 1615 Zulu. This is a request for a random hold that is not published on the chart, but is arbitrarily defined by ATC, so as to keep you in proper airspace. Atlas can handle these requests very easily. Simply place the cursor after Wakti, the waypoint where you want to hold, push the FMS knob or hit Enter to bring up the FMS menu. Scroll or touch Hold at Wakti and press Enter or push the FMS knob again to confirm. A new hold waypoint has been added to the flight plan. This holding pattern is west of Wakti on the 103-degree course, which is the 283-degree radial, and that's because that is an unpublished hold. So Atlas defaults to standard right turns and 1-minute legs along the course that defines the flight plan leg of that waypoint. Using the side tab to view the map plus flight plan, you can see the holding pattern to the right of Wakti. However, in this case, the controller said to hold south on the 180-degree radial using left-hand turns. So let's hit the side tab again, or push and hold the FMS page. Let's use the small right FMS knob to edit the hold waypoint as directed. To illustrate the effect, I will switch from right turns to left turns, then we can switch back to the map and see that the graphical holding pattern has switched to the left side. Now let's finish editing the hold. Our holding clearance said to hold on the 180-degree radial. Since the hold waypoint shows inbound course, we need to enter the reciprocal or 360 degrees. So I highlight the field by pressing the FMS button. I can either dial in the course or type it on the keyboard. Then push the FMS knob or Enter to confirm. When I switch back to the Map plus Flight Plan page, I can see the hold update to the new holding pattern on the 180-degree radial. As we approach the holding pattern, you can see the magenta and white barber pole makes it easy to see the next leg. The Atlas FMS alerts you this will be a parallel entry into this hold. We can switch to the Map TAWS page to see a 3D synthetic vision view of our hold, which you can pinch zoom with the touchscreen or change the zoom with the right knob. While in the hold, we get a call from ATC. Learjet November 1234, after Wakti cleared on course. We select LSK1, which prompts you to exit hold at the waypoint. The Atlas FMS will alert you that you are exiting the hold at the fix. And you will notice the next leg change to a magenta and white barber pole, making it easy to see where you are heading next. Should ATC change their mind and ask you to stay in the hold, you could select LSK1 again to continue the hold. But for this demo, we're going to exit at the fix, so let's switch back and continue on to Bradford. Okay, now we're en route to Bradford and we get the following call. Learjet November 1234, hold as published at Bradford, 5-mile legs. Expect further clearance at 1700 Zulu. As you can see on the Motif 6 arrival, there is a published hold at Bradford, so let's enter that. We move the cursor onto or just after Bradford. Push the FMS button to bring up the menu and scroll to hold at BDF. Push the FMS button or enter to confirm. Let's bring up the full FMS page so we can edit for 5-mile legs. Scroll the cursor to minutes and use the knob to switch to nautical miles. Then move the cursor to the distance window and change 1 to 5.0, either with the knob or the keyboard. Switching back to the Map plus Flight Plan page, we can see the holding pattern adjusted in size for 5-mile legs. And just as before, when cleared, we can hit the LSK1 to exit the hold at the fix as directed. And that covers Atlas holding patterns. This is lesson 12, instrument approaches and missed approaches. In this lesson, we will demonstrate how to load and fly 5 different approaches using the Atlas FMS, including an LPV approach with no procedure turn and a missed approach, an LPV approach with course reversal, a VOR approach with procedure turn and an alternate airport, an ILS approach with vectors to final, and a DME Arc to a VOR DME approach. Let's get started. To learn about instrument approaches on the Atlas, let's start this demo with a flight from Chicago Executive and fly the RNAV GPS-3 approach into Appleton, Wisconsin. This will be a full approach without radar vectors from ATC. We will fly over OSH VOR using the OSH transition. This transition is marked no procedure turn on the chart, meaning that a course reversal at the Apixie waypoint is not required. The approach will terminate with a missed approach. The routing we will initially use for this flight will be KPWK to OSH VOR to KATW Appleton. Once we have the flight plan entered, we can go ahead and load the RNAV3 LPV approach by hitting the PROC key, the procedure key, and selecting the RNAV3 from the list of available approaches, and then selecting the OSH transition. Let's hit the side tab so we can see the Map plus flight plan and use LSK3 to activate the flight plan. The magenta leg on the map confirms we are activated. While en route, we can switch to the Map plus TAWS page to view the 3D synthetic vision view. We can also go to the Chart tab and load the approach plate for Appleton. Use LSK1 to select Chart and LSK2 to paste KATW and view all the available charts at our destination airport. We simply scroll down to select the RNAV3 approach and press the FMS knob or enter to select. Cycle LSK2 again from Plan View to Header View to Profile View to Minimums to All, which is the full plate, and then back to Plan. All charts are fully zoomable. Moving ahead, we are now approaching the OSH VOR. The blue rectangle line appears on the map showing the boundary extent of the selected approach plate. Once we cross the OSH transition, you will see our nav source state will switch states from GPS to LPV transition, with LPV in cyan. Now we are heading toward Apixie, at which point we will turn inbound and our LPV approach will automatically be activated as shown by the green LPV nav source state in the upper right corner. And our nav mode will switch from terminal to approach as shown next to LSK4, letting us know that our CDI scaling is switching from 1 nautical mile to 0.3 nautical miles full scale. We cross Wutan, which is our final approach fixed, and continue inbound to runway 3, which is our missed approach point, in which case we would apply power and configure for climb and follow the missed approach guidance, which in this case is to climb to 1,138 feet, 028 degree course, then 030 degrees to Asigi, and hold. As we get to Asigi, the Atlas FMS tells us we have a teardrop entry into our holding pattern, where we will hold pending further instructions. In the second scenario, we are going to shoot the same RNAV3 LPV approach, but from the opposite direction. From the previous lesson, we flew the missed approach, and we are in a hold at Asigi. We will reload the approach, and since we are coming from the opposite direction, we will need to perform a course reversal holding pattern as published on the chart before we begin. While in the hold, let's reload the RNAV3 approach by hitting the PROC key. We select RNAV3, and this time we select the Apixie transition and enter. You will see the prompt that says Replace Active Approach, which you can either touch to accept or hit the Enter key. Once you accept the new approach, and we are cleared by ATC, the Atlas FMS will turn and exit the hold and proceed direct to the Apixie waypoint. When we reach Apixie, the Atlas FMS will automatically enter the course reversal hold depicted on the approach plate. Note that you will see the exiting the hold at fix message in the lower right corner. This indicates that unlike the holding patterns we have seen thus far, we will not remain in the hold, as this is simply a course reversal. If by chance you were not cleared from the hold by ATC, you could press the Continue Hold button and make another lap or until cleared. You can see the leg after the hold is a barber pole, signifying we are leaving the hold after the course reversal. From here, you simply fly the LPV approach just as we did in the previous scenario. In this next scenario, we are flying out of Chicago Executive Airport inbound direct to Oshkosh, where we will fly the VOR 27 approach and terminate with the missed approach. This flight will also include an alternate airport, KATW Appleton. The only transition for this airport is the OSH VOR. For this exercise, we will assume Milwaukee approach radar is out of service, so the procedure turn is our only option. We will build our flight plan to KOSH, but we will also include a second airport, our alternate, which is KATW. Let's load the flight plan from KPWK to KOSH and then add the alternate KATW and activate the flight plan. We can press the proc key, or we can move the cursor to the approach window within the KOSH waypoint, as shown here, and select the VOR 27 approach, and then select the OSH transition. As you can see, this creates a gap in our flight plan between KOSH and OSH. We have several options to close the gap. The best option is simply to go direct to OSH, then proceed with the approach. While en route, we can again switch to the map page and view our data blocks by holding the map page button. We can also load and view the approach plates by going to the chart tab. Then hit LSK1 to select chart, then LSK2 to paste KOSH, our destination, and view the full list of available charts and airport diagrams. Now we can scroll down to VOR 27 and push the FMS knob or enter to select. Cycling LSK2 will allow us to go from the plan view to header to profile view to minimums to full plate view, and these views are all zoomable or panable, and back to plan view. Now let's skip ahead. Once we get to the OSH VOR, we will automatically begin the approach by turning outbound, and then we will perform the procedure turn and head back in. We're running the Atlas in demo mode, so it doesn't emulate the VHF nav function. This is what you will actually see. Once you turn inbound on the procedure turn, you will notice the VOR frequency is auto-tuned to the OSH VOR, and it's being correctly identified in the window here. The nav mode is switched from terminal to approach mode, and the VLOC source state is green. To complete this scenario, we will fly the missed approach, which calls for us to hold west of Great. In this next scenario, we will demonstrate shooting an ILS into Appleton KATW. This approach picks up where we left off in the previous approach, where we were holding at Great for the OSH VOR 27. And now we want to transition from great with radar vectors to the final approach course for ILS runway 3 at KATW, which is already in our flight plan. We received clearance to the Appleton Airport with radar vectors to the ILS runway 3. This is an easy task with the Atlas FMS. Simply press the proc key and select the ILS 3, then select vectors to final as the transition. Our flight plan now includes the ILS 3 approach with a vectors to final waypoint and a gap in route message. Scroll the cursor over the VTF waypoint and hit the LSK3, which will activate vectors to final. ATC will vector you to the inbound course. You will see your nav source state in the upper right corner now shows GPS to VLOC transition status, and the nav mode data block next to LSK4 confirms you are in approach mode. As we intercept the final approach course, we will turn inbound and we will need to verify all indications are go. The nav radio should auto-tune the ILS frequency 109.1. The nav source state window should display VLOC in green, indicating ILS navigation, and the nav mode window should display approach. Whenever you fly a missed approach after shooting a vectors to final approach, the Atlas provides an easy way to get back and fly the same approach over again without going through all the trouble of reselecting and reactivating. Use LSK1 to retry approach. You can then follow ATC's headings to re-intercept the final approach course. Okay, now this is the last approach exercise. Let's fly a DME Arc transition to a VOR DME approach using the Atlas FMS. For this approach, we are relocating the demo sim to Kansas. We will fly from Russell, Kansas to Hutchinson, Kansas using the VOR DME 22 approach. We will be arriving from the northwest, transitioning via the 15 DME Arc. This is a no procedure turn transition. The Atlas FMS will use GPS as a legal substitute for DME and will auto-transition to VOR for the final approach course. Okay, so we're on the ground at Russell, Kansas, KRSL. Let's enter our destination, which is Hutchinson, Kansas, KHUT. I've activated the flight plan and we will climb out and head toward Hutchinson. Let's go ahead and load the approach chart for the VOR DME 22 on the Atlas. We go to the map page and the chart tab, hit the line select key 1 to select chart, then using LSK2, we can paste KHUT, which is automatically nominated since it's our destination, which gives us a full list of all the charts and airport diagrams available for KHUT. We can scroll down to VOR DME 22 and push the FMS knob or Enter key to select and bring up the plan view of the approach plate. Use the right FMS knob to zoom the chart in or out. Use LSK2 to cycle through the different chart views available, including header, the profile view, your minimums, the full chart view, and back to the plan view. Back on the FMS flight plan page, let's go ahead and load our approach. I push the proc key, the procedure key, which brings up the list of available approaches. Then we scroll down to the VOR DME 22 approach and push the FMS knob or Enter to select. Next, we select Yetru as our initial approach fix that begins on the east side of the 15 DME Arc. Then press Enter. The VOR DME 22 approach has been added to the flight plan, but a gap has also been added, and you are still flying direct to KHUT as you were before. As you are flying along, you receive the following clearance from ATC. You are cleared direct to the Hutchinson Airport, intercept the 15 DME Arc, cleared for the VOR DME 22 approach. Move the cursor to the 15 DME Arc waypoint in the flight plane, in this case Newbrae, and use LSK3 to activate the leg. This will make the DME Arc the current leg and as shown by it turning magenta on the map. Now we can turn and track the DME Arc. and we will turn right onto the final approach course when we reach the lead-in radial. And that covers Lesson 12 on loading and flying instrument approaches with the Atlas FMS. Thank you for joining me for the Atlas Advanced webinar. Be sure to check out the Atlas Basic webinar, which is also recorded and available on demand. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to pilotsupport@avidyne.com. Have a great day and fly safe, everyone.